G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. Today we are starting a bit of a little mini-series here. We're going to be interviewing some of the biggest and brightest minds in the AFL fantasy community, starting today with the legend of the community, Bales. Let's go!
George has done it from nowhere. Hoisting the goal from inside the centre. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty. Petrarca. The legend becomes immortal.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at Ball Boys Fantasy, joined, as normal, with Luke Rogerson, the second half of the Ball Boys. How are you, mate?
Going good, mate. Very excited for today. Like you said, we're debuting a little sort of mini-series where we're going to be interviewing some people, and I can't think of a better place to start than with Bales himself. Should we get him on screen?
Yeah, let's bring the big dog in.
Let's go. Bang. There is Bales. Hopefully we can see him with this new Fandangle screen set up. Bales, can you hear us, my friend?
Yes, boys. How are we? Hope we're going well. And I'm glad to say that I'm also here with a special guest today, mate. So there we go. So looking forward to chatting a bit of fantasy, mate.
Absolutely,
boys, we're very, very close, aren't we? We're creeping close to season, and can't wait for it to get started.
Yeah, it's an early start this year, earlier than normal. So we've got what is it? I think I counted it was like 6 weeks or something like that till the start of the season, 5 until opening round. So it's going to be upon us very, very quickly. And we're going to be picking your brain a little bit today. The purpose of these sort of interview series is that we've talked a lot of shit so far, Luke, and
you're not wrong.
And so
you're not wrong.
There's a lot of good content creators out there, so we're going to try and reach out to some of the best minds in the business and get their thoughts on all the comings and goings in AFL fantasy landscape at the moment. So
we're going to try. I was just going to say we're going to try and I might stole your thunder here, Mitch, but we're going to try and break it down into some sort of little segments where we can kind of pick the brains, like I said, in the first of those segments being we want to actually talk to each of our guests about the club that they support. And for Bales, that is the mighty Adelaide Crows. And I'm glad that you mentioned Lairdy off the top, mate, because we have some serious questions about that Adelaide midfield mix and what's going on in there. But I thought no better place to start with Bales than Bales. Just sell us on Lairdy to start, mate.
Rory Laird.
Sell the community on Lairdy. You've got the floor. Go for gold, mate.
All right. So here's how we're going to do it. Everyone's just going to pick Laird on their side, and that's how we're going to do it. But to be honest, when I keep thinking about it, I keep thinking, why do I keep selling people on Laird? Because it should just be me owning him, and I can get the fruits of him going well. But we'll talk about Lairdy. So I'll talk about Laird first, and then I'll go through I'll talk about the midfield mix first, and then that'll sort of correlate with Laird. So midfield mix. I know, Luke, you've got a lot of questions about this Adelaide midfield. I know you too, Mitch, as well. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a preseason watch for me. I lean on the side. I think it's going to be Laird, Dawson and Crouch. A lot of people are high on Rochelle, and he obviously went quite well. I think he averaged around 90 playing the midfield. I just don't know if I see that really eventuating to that heavy midfield. I know he wants it. I heard it on the radio that he wants to play a bit more 50-50. But
Rochelle does,
yeah, Laird got injured in round 19, I believe it was against the Giants, and Crouch came in round 19 against Melbourne, and he played really well. I think it was his best game for probably 4 or 5 years that I've seen of him, and then he kept his spot. And Crows, the only 3 games I lost in the back sort of the games when Crouch played was against Brisbane at the Gabba by less than a goal, Melbourne at the MCG by less than a goal, and they should have won both the games if they actually kicked accurately. And then Sydney, which we all know. A few things were thrown that night. So Crouch played so well, I think, and then that's when they gave him a 2-year contract. And then looking at that, I think, well, Crouch is I think he's going to play midfield. I just don't see him being in the SANFL again. They wouldn't have given him a 2-year contract. So, and I think Pedler's even ahead in the rotation ahead of Rochelle. Yeah, the cyclist. Soligo as well. And I know, Mitch, you were saying on when you guys were talking about the Crows midfield, you were saying that you thought the Crows were playing better when Rochelle was in there. And on one hand, I agree with that because I see things like with the fast football, but then on the other hand, it allows Saliga to play on a wing and play really well, allows Rochelle I know, Luke, you were saying about how good he is forward to centre, and he's got that good forward cover. He's still fairly young as well, so he's good ahead of the ball, and Pedler can sort of mix in between. I think Crouch will start on the bench a lot of games and come onto the ground, probably in a rotation with like Laird, and then Rochelle will probably go in, or Pedler or whatever. So, yeah, that's how I see it being. In terms of Rory Laird, I'll quickly go through numbers because people probably have already heard me go on about this a lot of times because he's my boy.
No, we love numbers. Hit us with the numbers.
Keep going.
Okay, so Laird last year, he was the number one CBA attendee for the Crows. A lot of people said that it was Dawson, but it was in fact Laird, and Laird pretty much didn't miss a CBA when he was on the ground. He was always in the midfield. Yep. So his games where he went under 100, round 1, 57, hot weather. I heard as well that he was sick as well. That's
okay.
From what I heard, I swear I heard Jonathan Brown say that. And then also,
I feel pretty sick as well if I scored a 54 in the first game of the season.
Yeah, and apparently he got tagged in that game as well because that's what Minimunk was telling me anyway. So that was reasoning for that. 83 in round 3 against Port Adelaide. Showdowns very, very weird against, and they're just weird games in terms of scoring. Yep. Sometimes they're going to be really high scoring, sometimes they're not. And Drew tagged him. I expect Drew to tag Dawson, if anyone, but I don't even see Port tagging much this year, to be honest. No. Freo, 84. Aish won't be tagging again. It'll be Young, probably running with Dawson. I think he matched up really well with Dawson there. Yep. Got a 101 against St Kilda, injured early in the last quarter. Could have been a 130 in that one there. Is on fire. 81 against Gold Coast up in Darwin as well. Got tagged by Swallow. Swallow's not going to play midfield this year. He won't get tagged. And, yeah, obviously TIO is not a great stand for scoring. 85 against North. Got managed in that game. And that was his one poor game. Don't think he played particularly well in that game. Then Giants, who was on 131, got injured in the last quarter and then missed the following week. So there's upside there. And if Dawson gets some attention, if Crouch is playing the midfield, I think that benefits Laird more than Dawson. So that's my case of selling on Laird. So you can take it or leave it, but that's what I reckon.
What I think I love about what you've just gone through, Bales, is the fact that we always talk about with these things that like we want to sell ourselves on a narrative, and for me, Bales has just stepped through the season.
Every single game.
This guy, you should be writing narratives, Bales. This is fantastic. Like if you can look at every game and go, okay, well, I think I can explain, X, Y, Z. I think that's fantastic. And I tell you, Lairdy's snuck down to the Oxlongs recently.
He's training with Mitchman too, man.
He is.
He is. So, I'm a big Dawson fan as well, but obviously Dawson's a little bit more expensive than Rory Laird. But my question to you is you said that Crouch, because I agree, I think Crouch being into the team helps Rory Laird because I think that the game slows down a bit. There's probably more stoppages, which is where Laird does his best work. Do you think, what's his ceiling in that situation? And do you think that Crouch is a guy that's going to be there for the entire season? Or is it maybe plays a block of games and then it drops out? Or what do you see that happening as a entire season sort of comes to fruition?
Yeah. Well, as a Crows fan, it's I think it will come down to how the Crows are going, to be honest. I as a supporter, I'm hopeful they make the finals. They played well last year, and if they're in the hunt, I think Crouch stays inside, and unless he's playing really poorly, which I think that he's going to keep playing well because he got that continuity the back end of the year and got that confidence back. If shit hits the fan and Crows lose a fair few games, then I could see Crouch potentially being dropped and then them giving Pedler, Saligo, Rochelle, these types of guys. Maybe Sam Berry comes back in the fold, Schoenberg, who knows what's going on with him as well. So maybe they give other guys a run. But yeah, if Crows do what they did last year and can stay competitive for a lot of the games and win, hopefully more than they lose, then I think Crouch is probably there for the long haul. And you probably asked me about Dawson as well. I know that people are concerned with this whole Crouch coming in for Dawson and Dawson's numbers dropped off. I think it had nothing to do with Crouch, to be honest. I think that Jaden put up a good stat. If people don't follow Jaden, just what are you doing? You have to. He's got the best stats going around. He said that Dawson's stoppage points didn't drop. It was his transitional points. And I think that had more to do with the fact first season full-time in the midfield, didn't actually play preseason in the midfield either. So it was just from round 3, 4 onwards. And I just think long season, he's the captain. He gave a lot of free kicks away as well in those last few games.
Four plus, I think, I saw.
Yeah, Jake spoke to me about that from Hatchet on our head-to-head video as well about that. So I think Dawson's fine. I think that if Mitch, you're keen on Dawson, I think that there's no reason to be deterred from that back end. I think he'll go back to that 110 plus and potentially be the number one scorer as you think he will. So
yeah, I think a lot of people could freak out when it's like the last 5 games that's different to the season. But like if you contrast that with another player like Bont, like his first 5 games was just as bad as Dawson's final 5 games. It's just the fact that they're at the end of the season, not at the start. So people sort of go, oh, like that's going to be what it feels like for the rest of them. The last one I want to talk about with the Crows there, Bales, is some people are getting really excited about Mitch Hinge. And I don't know how I feel. I'm not super in that camp, but a lot of people have, dropped some comments and say that Mitch Hinge is going to be sort of like the quarterback for the Adelaide after Duday has now left, and he did have an improvement after the bye last season. What are your thoughts on Mitch Hinge's role and his scoring potential this season, and is he a legit option for Fantasy Classic?
And would you say that his role, that his points hinge on his role?
I could tell you were winding up for that one.
I had to get in. I was like, I'll go now.
I keep the jokes coming, Luke. I love them. They're great.
I fucking butchered it anyway. I got the fucking order out.
Mate, that's right. I knew exactly where you're going with that one. So,
the wind up.
Mitch Hinge is very, very interesting, isn't he? Like, don't exactly remember his numbers back half the year, but I think he averaged, was it like mid 90s or something, or low 90s?
I've got it here, but keep going. I'll find it.
So it's tough with the Crows because I don't know if they've necessarily got a designated kicker per se or quarterback type, if you like, because Mitch Hinge can be that guy that can also play as a bit of a taller player as well back there. And with Nick Murray not going to be ready for a little bit, obviously Dan Curtin's going to be back there. I don't know if like Mark Keane or Bolase are going to play. Is Jordan Butt's going to play? I don't know. Does Mitch Hinge have to play as the third toy? I reckon if they play Keane and Butts and then Curtin's there as well, I think Hinge could be a sneaky guy to look at. I think more draft relevant to start the year. Could be a guy that you maybe jump on in Classic. But
so he went. I've got the stats here. He went 91 after the bye, and is coming in priced at 75.6. So if that were to be like, if he did go 91 this season, and you're paying 76 for him, it's a decent pick. I don't know if it's a smash pick, but it's a decent pick.
I could see him going 85 in realistically. And again, he's got the Cine if everything went well. Dawson not taking the kick-ins now.
So maybe it sounds to me like it's dependent on like how the team structures up, like how many other key defenders they've got going on.
Yeah, because there's been talk, people, like I saw someone did like a best 22 in one of the papers here, and they reckon it'll be Dan Curtin playing as a key tool with Jordan Butts, and there'll be no Mark Keane. But I thought Mark Keane or even Borlase were solid in the back half of the year, and we didn't have any tool stocks. I'd play one of them and Butts, and then play Curtin as a third tool, and then leave Hinge to be that rebounding halfback. But Wayne Miller is back there as well. I know he had a hamstring game, but if he's fine, then he'll be there. Brodie Smith's still there, so there's a few Maz to feed back there, and I'm not sure really any of them will be high scoring, except maybe Mitch Hinge. So we'll have to see, I reckon. Pre-season watch.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for letting us pick your brains there, Bales, because I know you would have listened to most of our Adelaide commentary is more questions than answers, so you've sorted us out in that regard, mate. Now, the next segment that we kind of want to do is a little bit of an unconventional take segment. So we want to know if there's any sort of popular notions or sentiments from the fantasy community that you are kind of going against this year. You know, people are getting up and there's a lot of that group think. We want to know if there's anything that you've been pushing back on.
Yeah, interesting, because I've learned from my previous mistakes of starting too many pods and trying to go vanilla. I know, Luke, you talk about that a lot, and saying just if the crowd's going there, it's almost safer to go there and trade off of it rather than go against it. Like I think it was a couple of years ago. I think there was a weekend would have been around 7. I think it was 2022 when like Heaney and Parker were the two options in the forward line. I went Heaney is a bit of a pod in the ceiling plate. Everyone went Parker. Heaney failed completely, and Parker ended up being a top 3 forward for the rest of the year. So those sort of things is there. But in terms of, I guess, what I'm doing instead of the crowd, I know a lot of the content creators are going against Nick Dacos. That's the one thing haven't looked at Dacos once in the preseason. I've been completely against starting him. I just think paying nearly $1 million for a guy that's not only going to get a tag in round 4 with Finn McGuinness, but he's also got Sydney in there. He's got St Kilda in there. He's got Port Adelaide post bye. There's a few, and Brisbane at the Gabba as well. So a few tougher games there. Again, he can go big in any game. I just think that there's more chance of him dropping a a poorish score, maybe not a 40 like he dropped against Hawthorn last year, but whether it be a 65, 75, something like that, I just see him dropping in price.
A poor score at the start of the year is really going to dent the opportunity for him to get away from you as well, just the way that the pricing works. So, like you said, any poor score there could keep him within range for a trade target.
And probably the other player I'm going against, a lot of people going off, and I know that, and Luke, I know you gave you the credit, but I must give credit to the guy that originally gave me this. It was Mini Monk when I was chatting with him.
Sorry, Mini Monk.
It was about the whole Sam Flanders thing. So, I passed on to you boys, but then Mini Monk was the one that originated it. So shout out to Mini Monk there. But absolutely. Flanders is a guy that I'm potentially looking to avoid at this moment in time, just with the fact that round 3 bye and the fact that I know that everyone would have heard you boys go through all the games here, but like every game at Heritage Bank is at night except West Coast. He plays at Mars Stadium, Adelaide Hills, SCG, which isn't going to be easy against Sydney to score against, the Gabba, and then back-to-back games at TIO, all in the first 10 weeks, including a bye. So I don't see the ceiling there. And Gold Coast is still an unknown as well. We don't know who's going to play in that midfield. Yeah. I expect to be Anderson, Rowell and Touk be the first 3, but does Buddy Humphrey get a role in there? Do they keep going back with David Swallow? I wouldn't imagine that they do, and I think Gold Coast fans probably think that they've got to move past David Swallow, but a few moving pieces there. I'd prefer to see Flanders for 3 games, including the opening round, and then maybe potentially jump on him if, say, Conor McDonald or Zach Fisher or someone fails in the first 3 weeks, and you can jump to Flanders then.
I agree with a lot of what you said there. We're going to move on to this next segment here, which is just a couple of relevant points, or what we might call hot topics.
Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel.
So hot right now.
The Zoolander shout out. So hot right now.
Some hot topics here, and the 2 main hot topics, which are, driving AFL fantasy coaches crazy. The first of which is the mess that is the forward line. So I want to throw it over to you, Bales. Like, obviously, even given recent news, McRae's hamstring awareness or strain or whatever we want to call it these days.
Awareness is worse than a strain.
And we've got Zach Fisher's done his hammy. We've got a bunch of question marks in the forward line. What's in general your approach to the forward line this year? Are you going cheap? Are you trying to stay away from the early round bye players, or is this a line where you don't mind having a few of those early bye guys? What's your general thoughts on the forward line and your approach so far?
My thought process, one of you boys want to press the crickets on the soundboard?
So not much thoughts.
no, it's really just it's just a crap heap, that's for sure.
You can swear on this show.
I know, but it's funny. Last year there was like people playing forwards in their midfield last year because we had so many. We had like Taranto, Dunkley, Butters, Rosie. Like, there were so many of these guys that we had at our disposal, and Taranto, Goulden as well. Obviously, can't forget those 2. But and now they're all midfielders. So it really, and when you go through the names, McRae, as you said, hamstring. I'm not really confident, but again, Luke, as Luke says, maybe just to go with the crowd with this one because a lot of people are going in. Flanders, I'm not keen on. I was keen on Dylan Moore, but and I thought with Nick Watson and Jack Ginnivan coming in, I thought maybe Dylan Moore goes up onto like a wing, potentially on ball, but he probably stays forward, and that means guys like Conor McDonald and that get more midfield. So I'm probably not going to be going him. Dusty, if he didn't have a bye, could potentially be a guy that we look at. Apparently, you guys are saying he's hitting PBs and stuff in training. So
PBs in the gym, and he's playing more midfield time.
And something about it or whatever. So he could be a guy that we potentially would look at if he didn't have a bye. Caleb Daniel, not with small potato when he's playing at Mars Stadium, and I can't do it. And then you're going down to guys like Taylor Adams. We don't know what his role is going to be. We're going to have a look at him in round 0. And I don't know if this video will air before I have Harmy on the head-to-head series. We're talking about Adams, and we just can't see him not playing midfield. So I'm fairly confident he plays midfield, but again, we need to see it first. Zach Fisher, we don't like hamstring injuries. Rochelle, we don't know the role. McDonald, we don't know the role. There's so many question marks. There's not really anyone except probably Harley Reid's probably the only one we're really confident in.
when a first-year rookie is the one that we're going to hang our literal AFL fantasy hats on, that's
so could you almost like go with the theory of like just delete your forward line, leave it deleted until we see practice games.
Well, yeah.
Don't even bother speculating. Just delete it and wait.
Well, you were asking Warnie if you can put the utility round so you can have your 200k. Why don't we take 3 of the forward line spots, put it in 2 of them into our ruck so we can pick Cherry and one of the big boys, and we go get like a midfield like a George Ward or something in the midfield. That would work. But
that's out of the box thinking, mate. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, so I think that is the general sentiment of like it's going to be a huge wait and see, and of all the lines, that one's going to be changing the most. I think in a lot of people's teams. The second hot topic is the early buys, and it is kind of drummed into death a little bit at the moment with the content out there, but it is obviously it's brand new this season. At least the way it's being done. Like, what's your approach to the early buys? A lot of the general popular sentiment is no premiums that you want to start with the early buys, but the mid-prices and rookies are okay. Do you agree with that sentiment, or is there something else or another wrinkle you want to throw out there in terms of how you're thinking about approaching the early buys this season?
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid pretty much most premiums. Anyone over 750k, I'm not really looking at. Like, I know a lot of people looking at Walsh, and I heard the traders talking about it on their pod. And as Roy was saying, you really need him to go like 125 or so or more to really look at him. And even then, it's like, could you just get him in round 3 anyway? Guys like Goulden and Tom Green would probably be picked in my side if it wasn't for the opening round buy, just too fully priced. So I'm avoiding all these guys. Guys like Flanders. Flanders has still been in and around the training with Bales' squad, but I'm a bit torn, not really looking at him with that run. And a guy like Lockie Whitfield, I know that you've mentioned him a bit, Mitch. I've looked at him, but even looking at him, I know he's got the good run, but still round 3 missing. I'm just like, if he had round 6, I think I'd be picking him. But the one guy, I guess that another guy that jumped on a head-to-head too is MJ actually said, and this guy has come into calculation for me. So Jaden Short, obviously from your Richmond Footy Club, and as MJ was talking about with Short, is that there's a play where you start him and he's got the round 6 bye, so either one or two things going to happen. Either one, he's going to average low 90s, high 80s, and just going to go, not a good pick. You train at round 6, who comes off by in round 5? Nick Dacos. So you just make that switch there. Yeah, okay. If he goes well and is averaging 105, like he was in that sort of the start of the year thing was a couple of years ago until he got switched to midfield, then you hold him because he's going to be a top couple of defenders. So something like that would potentially interest me. But even still, I'm probably leaning more towards picking guys that are playing all the way through. So, but mid-prices and rookies, though, I think, as even Tim was saying to me, it's almost better the mid-prices have the buy early because they can get that double price rise post-round 1 and some of the rookies. So, I think
5 and 6s, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This will lead us into our new segment here, which I'm pretty excited about. And
this will be good.
We're going to talk about opening rounds because we've all talked about like setting a line and okay, if this player scores this much or has this role, that's what's going to be okay. We're going to pick him or we're going to not, and we're going to put that theory to the test. Put you under the spotlight here, Bales, and throw a couple of popular early buy players and these hypothetical situations. In round 0.
So we'll throw you a player. An imaginary points that they score in round 0, and then a sort of potential role as well. And you're either going to let us know whether you're picking that player based on those numbers or whether you are going to continue or still fade that player. So we want to go 1 for 1?
Yeah, let's go 1 for 1. We'll start with the big dog in there. I still think is very high up there in the ownership. Nick Dacos. So Nick Dacos comes out round 0. He scores a 130. He's 70% in the CBA. He's basically a pure inside midfielder. Are you picking him in that situation?
No.
Oh, strong on Dacos.
Bang, no.
Big bag. Okay. No,
Dacos. People that close to me know that I've in past years I've asked 50,000 people, what should I do for my trades? What should I do here? I don't bat my own thought. So like this year, new strategy, I've got to bat my own team. I've been pretty staunch on not starting Dacos.
Lock it away.
I think he could even go 150, and I probably wouldn't. I'd be, trust me, he'd probably come in for a little bit, but then probably go back out.
Lurking in the change rooms.
yeah. But I don't think I could start him. It's too many things that
good,
go wrong.
All right, good start.
That's
Still
underrated.
He's still a great player though. So hey, we're going to want him at some point, and it's going to be awful if he goes and gets a 150 in the first few rounds, like I know he probably will, like last year. And Luke, I know it killed you as well, mate. So
the point Bale's made, I think, is actually underrated, and the ability to take in all the information from all the different podcasts, but then at the end of the day,
back yourself,
back your thoughts. I think is good, because at least then you can live with it. Do you know what I mean? At least, like if you listen to someone says, "Oh, do this," and you do it, and they fuck you up. That's a little bit inconvenient. But I like that point you make, Bales. I like that point. I'm going to stop listening to Mitch. Okay, Kitty Coleman comes out in opening round and gives you an 85 and 40% kick-ins. What are you doing there?
It's a hard one, Kitty Coleman. I don't know if I'm really interested either in Kitty Coleman. I just think that, I know, Luke, you made this point during your mid-prices episode that he only went over 90, was it, twice last year? And he had a massive first half against Collingwood, but then didn't really do much in the second half. And I like Kitty Coleman to what your boy Hayden Young has been in the past. Hopefully he's not this year, but he's very much a team first player. He does the hard stuff. He can get some tackles. And I think that he's not a guy that some games he'll try and get all the +6 in the world, but then there'll be other games where he's playing a more accountable sort of, like, not accountable role, but more accountable throughout the day, not really worried about getting the ball. And Dusty Wilmot will go and get some of it, or Harris Andrews will take 15 marks or whatever. I probably will be steering clear of Kitty Coleman, but hey, if he put up 100 or something, like a bit more than 85, then that would certainly get me interested.
Yeah, I think we all know he's got all the capability in the world. It's just whether week to week
I think the Brisbane system as well, like they play on the smaller Gabba ground, like they don't chip it around quite as much over there. I think it is. We haven't seen like a big half-back scoring type from them, really. So I'm agreeing in there. Okay, second player in the defender line of that sort of mid-price variety, Zach Williams. He comes out, he doesn't have a single kick-in, no kick-ins, and he scores a 78. What are you doing with Zach Williams if he scores a 78 in opening round with 0 kick-ins?
If he's got that half-back role, I think I'm still picking him. Okay. Again, I forgot to keep mentioning these head-to-head videos, because we talk about so many of these players in the head-to-head videos. I had Louis on, and that hasn't been released yet. That'll be released soon. We chatted him and Heath Chapman, and I just said to Louis, I could just imagine a world where if Williams isn't taking the kick-ins, Newman's kicking it, and it's going short to Zach Williams in the pocket, and Williams is kicking it 50 metres down the line or hitting up another target. I still think Williams is going to have that role. I think Doherty's going to play more on a wing/midfield, and I think Williams, he's too cheap to ignore. I think the role is the most important thing with him. I think I'd still pick him if he got a 65, if he's got that role, to be honest, because Brisbane, I think they're playing the Gabba, if I'm not mistaken.
First game, yes. Yeah, round 0, you mean?
Yeah, so tough game. If he has the role and scores decently enough, then I think I'll still pick him.
All right, let's head over to GWS, and Tommy Green's coming out. He gives us a 130 and 85%. I think the 85% CBAs for Tom Green is safe.
I mean, that's pretty safe,
He gives you a 130 in opening round. Tommy Green, what are you doing?
Love to start him, but I can't. Not with that round 3 bye. Round 6 bye, and if, again, like Whitfield, if you had that round 6 bye and had North Melbourne, West Coast, and St Kilda and Gold Coast, I'd be heavily considering it. But with that one round 3, I just can't. Not. What was he? Is he just under $1 million? He's like 998 or something.
Very close.
So 130, and then going into West Coast, North Melbourne, and then flip him to Sam Walsh. Is that where your head's going?
No, I was just saying that. Like, I think I would agree with Bales, but I do think that if he comes out in opening round, scores a 130, I think a lot of people will start him because people will see that big score. They'll see the young up-and-coming mid. They'll see the West Coast, the North Melbourne. I reckon people will flock to that. Interesting.
He's already in 21.37% of teams as of time recording, so it's a lot, and a lot of people are going to go. But I'm a lot more keener on a guy that's 2K less. Sorry. Andy Brayshaw. I think he'll be the number 1 scorer this year. That's my sort of hot take.
Nice. You won't have to sell Mitch on that one.
All aboard the Brayshaw. Let's go to another midfielder, another popular midfielder with the early buy round, Sam Walsh. He comes out and he scores 120 in opening round at 65% CBAs. What are you doing with Sam Walsh, who obviously is priced cheaper than a Tom Green? 120 he scores in that opening round. Are you selecting him on the back of that?
That's the toughest one you've given me. If he was to get 65% CBAs and score a 120 against Brisbane at the Gabba, that would seriously make me consider him and putting him in the side like that. That something like that would. If he just went anything less than a 120, I probably wouldn't look at it. But if he gets 120 with that 65% CBAs, and if all the Carlton mids are playing as well, if it's not like someone missing, that would certainly put him in consideration for me.
Okay, yeah. So with these lines, I've tried to pick like the most awkward and the most like difficult of decisions. So I reckon
that one's the toughest one so far. I probably still wouldn't pick him, but hey, that would get me really, really keen.
Well, I mean, he did 100 plus in the
finals,
prelim, didn't he?
I think it wasn't
huge, but he did 105, and that was at the Gabba as well. Yeah,
it would have
had a home final.
Yeah, it would have been at the Gabba, yeah. So, I mean, he's done it before. Do it straight again.
Okay, he's putting you in a tough spot. Let's have a look at the next one. We've got Big M Gawn. Just gives you a flat 100 on that 80% CBA, so he's got the sole ruck roll. What are we doing with Maxi Gawn, the flat 100 in opening round?
If he's got that number one ruck roll, I put him in my team. I put it. Sorry, not number one, but like that solo rut, like 80% CBAs.
Yep.
I actually put him in my team this morning. I again listening to you boys this morning.
Who'd you take out? I'm more interested to know about who came out to put him in. Was it X Area or was it Grundy? Who made way?
It was I got off Exile and I took the one-way flight back.
The facial.
But there's he's not going to be training for 4 weeks. I know that he's going to be running and stuff, but I don't like picking players that have had setbacks, and that's why even like Fisher went out this morning for me just with a few things. But hey, Fisher's still there, and Cherry's still there as well. But Gawn can go 105, 110. Like Mitch, I know you said that, so I'm keen on him. So if he's got that 80% CBA role, clear number one ruck, I'd still be keen regardless.
Yep. 100's enough. All right, go to his ex-teammate in Brodie Grundy. Everyone's very hot on him. I think he is the most popular premium at the moment. He comes out. He has the 80% CBA. He's dominating in the ruck contest, but he scores an 82. So probably not as big as people want to. 82 with 80% CBAs. What are you doing with Brodie Grundy in that situation?
That would be against Melbourne and Max too.
It would be against Max Gawn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'd be picking him if he had the 80. It's, again, all about the role. He's got Max Gawn, so if he puts up a sort of a lower score, then I can live with that. If he's got that role, then I'm picking him.
Surely that's it, hey. And surely there's going to be a little bit of fuck you in that round zero game too.
Yeah.
A little bit
But if a little bit of fuck you results in an 82, maybe if he doesn't want to.
Yeah. I think from memory, from memory, he's actually got another chip on his shoulder in round one because I believe he comes up against Collingwood, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Shit. How about that,
they've done that on purpose, surely.
That's an easier matchup, I think, for him against Darcy Cameron and Mason Cox. So if he has a sort of a lower game round one and Gawn lowers his colours a little bit, I could imagine Grundy's going to come out and even be even more fired up if he's not already.
Yep, great call. Let's have a look at just a couple more. Sammy Flanders, I think we might know your thoughts here, but if Flanders came out and gave us 100 but with 50% CBAs in round zero, would that sway you?
It'd make me thinking. It would depend on McRae. I think I've got to start one of McRae or Flanders. If I don't start one of them, I don't know if I can go into a season with no forward premiums at all. I don't know if I could have Taylor Adams at F1. So he'd be in the mix, but if McRae's sort of still there, I'd probably lean towards going away from him. But hey, if he got 100 with 50% CBAs, it's still a pretty good pick even with the bye.
Yeah, I think the 50% CBAs would be the bigger thing for me there.
Yeah.
Like if he's genuinely in like that, that third or fourth midfield rotation, because at the back end of last year he did it in like 30% CBAs, like his scoring was there. So I think that's the biggest key for me there. And then the last one is that Taylor Adams pick. He comes out, he scores a 95, but his CBAs are at 50%. So maybe not as high as some people would have wanted. The 95, I think you'd be pretty happy with, but 50% CBAs, Taylor Adams, what are you doing in that situation?
If a couple of these other guys like a Billings or a Jordan and a few of those guys go well, and even a Cam McKenzie or Connor McDonald and all those guys go well, I would be probably moving him out, to be honest. I need to see that 70% plus CBA role from Adams to be confident. 65 would be the lowest I'd look at for CBAs. It'd have to be more.
So 64, no dice.
No dice. No deal. No, he's not going in. So.
That's the worst when you get within one or two.
You say a line and then they get 1 or 2% lower.
Okay,
I'll just lower it down.
I said 63, didn't I?
It's like that Doherty VC last year where it was the 107 and it was a late adjustment to the 110 and then it was
everyone took it?
Yeah, let's go.
Funny story about that one, actually. That was round 1 last year and I Doherty VC on the Thursday night and I was like, 107, not taking it. And I saw 110. I'm like, yep, taking it.
You're guilty.
Luckily I did, because you know who my captain was.
It was Rory Laird, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mate. Great call.
Great call. Oh, that late adjustment saved you a lot of points.
Yeah.
All right.
Mate, we don't want to take up too much of your time. We've got a couple more little bits and pieces to go through if you're happy to. Yeah. Locks and watches. Just rattle off a couple of players that haven't left your squad so far this pre-season.
Let's exclude rookies. Let's talk about McKercher. Obviously, everyone's got Harley Reid and all this sort of stuff. But players outside of rookies, who has not left your side this so far the pre-season?
Yeah, so I'll get this out the way quickly. Rory Laird hasn't left so far this pre-season. To be honest, I actually put him. It was a funny thing. I put him up on the Twitter. Just said, look, no one should be surprised who my first pick player is. I honestly didn't think I'd be having him in my team this year, but the more I've heard, I've heard Stato talk him up, I've heard a lot of people talk him up, and that sort of made me more confident. But he hasn't left. A few other players that haven't left so far in the pre-season. Hayden Young has been pretty set in there. When I was looking at it, when I put a few players in, he wasn't one of my first picked, but just here in the midfield time, he's been there pretty much from the get-go. Andrew Brayshaw's been there pretty much from the get-go as well. I'm pretty keen on him. Your boy, the man of steel, Luke, he's been there pretty much from day dot. I just can't see a world where he goes under 105.
Yep.
LDU's been there for pretty much the whole pre-season as well. He's the guy I'm not as confident with Steele, just with the being burnt before. I didn't get burnt anywhere near as bad as what other people did last year, but I have had him when he has had some poor scores or get injured. So, but he's there. Grundy's been there the whole time. Adams has been there the whole time, just seeing how he's going. And that's pretty much it. I've changed a few players around, and a few players have been there for a lot of pre-season, like Tom Stewart, for example, but he sort of has changed with Gavin, Tim's mate. There's been a few players go through there, and so they're the few players I've had locked in, obviously, besides those obvious rookies like your McKerchers and Reeds.
Yep. What are some players or teams or roles specifically that you're looking for most closely in the preseason? Is there a particular rotation in the midfield that you're watching more closely than others, or anything that you got your eye on specifically over the next few weeks?
Yeah, so look, obviously the Crows, obviously the midfield mix is the one, but I think that the most intriguing midfield mix actually is Hawthorn.
I agree.
I think that there's all these guys that you could pick. You've got Connor McDonald, who I think someone said to me he's the second highest averaging player in the under-18s by Nick Dacos, so he's got that scoring pedigree there. You've got Josh Ward. Is he finally going to get that midfield time? What's going to happen with your mate Warple, Mitch? Is he going to play in the midfield? Cam McKenzie is really cheap. He looked really good at the start of last year, and in the pre-season, does he get more of a go in there? So, and how does that sort of the fine effect go for guys like Carl Amon, for example? Does he end up staying back? So that's probably the mix there. And then obviously just the guys we're looking at like in the opening round, like your James Jordan, your Jack Billings, your Taylor Adams, Brody Grundy, Max Gawn, all these guys in the opening round, sort of just seeing their roles and everything. And so there's a lot of players to watch over these pre-season games. I've got to make sure I've got to watch all of them. So when you're watching a footy, but hey, we're not complaining when we watch footy.
Absolutely, mate. We are looking out the weekends.
We are licking our chops.
Absolutely.
All right, so this last segment, we're going to go through some rapid questions, and I don't want you sitting on no fences. We're anti-fence sitting here at the Ball Boys.
Yep.
So we're going to throw some questions at you. Quick fire, first thing that pops into your head, give it to us, and then we'll move on to the next one, okay? So gut,
Do you want to go one for one?
Yeah, we'll go one for one.
Okay.
You start with the first one, and then I'll go from here.
Okay, first thing that pops in your head, Bals. Highest averaging player this year?
Andrew Brayshaw.
Nice.
Biggest improvement from last year?
That's a tough one. Brody Grundy, I reckon.
Very
just
nice.
see it's the first one. The first one that popped in my head. He's so cheap that
Yeah,
he's just
that's a
gonna-
good call.
Yep.
Great call.
Who's winning the flag?
He's going to say the Crows.
Residue. Yeah. Who? Colin, we go back to back. I've heard a few. Carlton. I've heard
Carlton, lock it in.
The blue bag army have been. I've been hearing them all the way from Adelaide, from Melbourne, and I'm sort of starting to sort of come around to the fact that they've got the team. It's time that they make the grand final. So yeah, maybe Carlton.
Okay, Blues, you locked
Heard
in.
it here first, guys. Who's the wooden spoon this year?
Don't say Richmond.
I think West Coast.
West Coast.
Unfortunately,
Good call. Would you rather win a hat or your team win a premiership?
team in the premiership. I think.
Yeah.
For me,
That's the correct answer, I think, for most people.
I would love a hat, and I'm still spewing I didn't get an AFLW fantasy hat after plenty of things didn't go my way in the back half of the year. But I haven't seen. Well, I was born in '98, and that was when the Crows last won a flag. Obviously, your bloody mob, I'm convinced if that game wasn't at MCG, Adelaide would have won. But hey, that doesn't matter.
That's all right. Keep telling yourself that, mate. It's all right. However you sleep at night, it's all right. Tomato sauce. Big question here. Tomato sauce, fridge or cupboard?
Fridge.
It's the right answer.
Yeah, fridge. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Yeah, that's right.
And it pisses me off when people don't put the toilet roll actually on the roller. Does my head in.
Where do people put it?
Surely.
No, as in like so the roller's there, and then they'll put the toilet roll just lying on top. Sister used to do all the time.
Chaos.
And she moved out with her boyfriend, so I'm just like, the toilet roll actually on the in the
absolute anarchy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Favorite baller boy, Mitch or Luke?
Both.
You're
not doing that to me.
Just say you can't hurt Mitch's feelings. Just say, mate. Okay, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay. So I'll say no, but I'll say I'll eat it if it's there. But if someone says to me like, "What do you want?" I'll go something else, just because I've got a Greek friend, an Italian friend, and they're completely against it. So yeah.
Okay.
I'll say no to sort of to please them. But yeah. No.
Last question, very one you might have to point it with. Does a straw have two holes or one?
I was not expecting that question. Does straw have two holes or one?
Think about it, mate. This is the big question. One hole?
Yeah, it goes straight through.
Oh, two holes, mate. It's got two holes.
But the whole... But like, let's say I tunneled out of a prison.
You've got to make two holes.
I dig one hole.
Yeah. But if you...
I dig one hole.
Oh, no. Okay, we'll leave it for the audience to ponder that one. We'll leave the audience to ponder that one. Bale says one, I say two. But that'll do it for us today, guys. Thanks for being a great sport, Bales. Let us know what you got going on over at your YouTube channel and at the Content Creators Cup. Is that returning again for this season? And what do you guys got on over at the Fanatics as well for 2024?
Yeah, so plenty of stuff going on. So I'll go through sort of the order. So obviously you can find me at BalesDT on Twitter and Instagram, and truly Bales HD on YouTube. Got the head-to-head series going. Obviously had both you boys on, which is always appreciate you guys jumping on for a chat. Always good to chat fantasy with you boys. Got plenty of other guests to come as well, so keep an eye on for that. There'll be about 20 episodes or so. We're about halfway through. And then, me and Tim will get back behind the mic. So I've been onto him and said, mate, we've got to get going. We've got to get start going. And, Tim's done his research and we're nearly ready to roll. So that'll be coming. And, yes, the Content Creators Cup will be coming back. I'll leave Tim to say who's been kicked out and who's come in.
Mate,
Obviously,
I'm going to defend my crown.
Obviously, the one that Tim did announce is obviously Harmy's in, which is good. So obviously from the pods he'll be in, and hopefully it will be me and Luke on top this year because we had rough years last year. So
correct, mate. Correct.
Yeah. But it'll be tough. So it's good fun league, and all go. And I think the thing we got to remember as well is it's obviously Tim's running this, and it goes towards a great cause as well. Obviously, the winner. I don't know exactly. It was like $5,000 the favourite charity last year. So is that where that's the same this year? I don't know, but I'm sure Tim will announce that on one of our first pods. So get around that. That's always good fun, and hopefully it will be Bales the boss, no Bales the buyer this year.
Hopefully, mate. I'm looking forward to it. And, do make sure you check out Chili Bales HD on YouTube. We are looking for 2,000 subscribers, as I'm sure Bales is as well. So subscribe to both channels. Give this video a big thumbs up, and we will see you guys next time, where we're going to have some more awesome guests on and lots more to talk about. Until then, guys, see you later. Bye.
See ya.